shocking, furious. Nobody expected Aryna Sabalenka to say this after losing at Wimbledon. The world number one didn't just lose a tennis match, she lost her composure, her cool, and maybe a piece of her reputation, all in front of a stunned press room. What she said next would ignite the internet, and by the time the clips hit social media, everyone was asking the same question. Was this honesty or a meltdown? Stay with us, because what happened on center court that day was only the beginning of the story. To understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to understand what Aryna Sabalenka was carrying onto that court. She arrived at Wimbledon 2026 as the top-ranked player in the world, a 4-time Grand Slam champion, a woman who had already conquered the Australian Open twice and the US Open twice.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the press conference for Aryna Sabalenka. Just a reminder to raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. I'll start, Aryna. Appreciate a difficult one this afternoon. If you could just give us your thoughts on the match this afternoon.
Well, obviously I'm not happy with the way I played, but yeah, she overpowered me. I feel like it was an incredible level from her. I tried my best, and well, unfortunately not this year.
Hi,
Aryna, tough loss. Obviously, you'd beaten Osaka the last 3 matches this year on different surfaces. Do you think the surface played a part, or was it mainly her level? How did you feel out there today?
I think a combination of both. I didn't play my best, and she played probably her best, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes you can go out there and do everything you can and still lose the match. So obviously I'm not really happy, and well done for Naomi and wishing her the best.
Ben?
Second the match begins, Osaka wasn't just another name on the draw sheet. She was a former world number one herself, a woman with 4 major titles of her own, someone who had tasted the mountaintop and knew exactly what it took to climb back to it. And heading into this 4th-round clash on center court, something in Osaka's game had shifted. She'd said it herself before the tournament even started. Her confidence on grass was pretty high, and she carried a stable mindset no matter who stood across the net. Even Sabalenka's ranking didn't scare her anymore.
Well, congratulations, Naomi. You can see you've had a standing ovation. That was such a special performance out here. You've beaten the top seed, the world number one. Just give us your thoughts on your performance out here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was a really fun match. I'm really grateful for that. Even if I lost, I would still think it was a great match. But no, it was really fun, and you know, for me, this court is so special. This is the first match I've won on this court, so.
From the very first game, something felt wrong for Sabalenka. Osaka came out swinging like she had nothing to lose, which, in a strange way, she didn't. She broke serve early, then broke again, racing through the opening set at a pace that left the center court crowd buzzing. 6-2. It wasn't just a lead, it was a statement. Sabalenka struggled to find any rhythm. Her signature power, the very weapon that had carried her to 4 Grand Slam titles, seemed to betray her. Shots that usually clipped the line were sailing long. The frustration was written all over her face before the first set had even ended. And for a competitor who thrives on aggression, on hitting through opponents rather than around them, there is nothing more disorienting than facing someone who refuses to be overpowered. That someone was Osaka. Every time Sabalenka threatened to find her footing, Osaka answered with something bigger, a booming ace, a flat forehand that landed just inside the line, a return that arrived faster than Sabalenka could react. The second set became a battle of wills, tighter than the first, pushed all the way to a tiebreak. And in that tiebreak, with everything on the line, it was Osaka who kept her nerve. Somewhere in the middle of that set, the cracks in Sabalenka's composure started to show. At one point, down in the count, she smashed a shot into the net and let out a scream loud enough for the whole stadium to hear. It wasn't just frustration with a missed shot, it was frustration with an entire tournament slipping away in real time. This was supposed to be her year on the grass. Instead, she was watching her Wimbledon dream dissolve point by point. And then came the moment that would define the headlines before a single word was even spoken in the press room. In a fit of raw emotion, Sabalenka launched a ball out of center court. It wasn't dangerous, it wasn't aimed at anyone, but it was enough. The crowd, the very same fans who had come to watch a heavyweight clash, turned on her instantly. Boos rained down from the stands, echoing around one of the most historic tennis courts in the world. Think about that for a second. This is center court. This is Wimbledon, a place steeped in tradition, in decorum, in an almost reverent hush during play. And here was the world number one, being jeered by the very crowd that had once cheered her name. Osaka closed out the match 6-2, 7-6-2. It was her first win over a world number one since 2019, a resume-defining victory. But for Sabalenka, the loss wasn't just about the scoreline. It was about what the loss represented. Her earliest exit from a Grand Slam since 2022. A shocking end to a tournament that was supposed to be her coronation. But if you thought the drama ended when the final point was played, you'd be wrong. What came next, in that small, quiet press conference room, would generate far more headlines than the match itself ever could. Walk into a post-match press conference after a brutal loss, and you can usually feel the temperature of the room before a single question is asked. Reporters choose their words carefully. Players sit with guarded expressions, bracing for questions they'd rather not answer. But what unfolded in Sabalenka's press conference that day was something else entirely, a mixture of tension, awkwardness, and brutal honesty that nobody in that room was fully prepared for. It started almost immediately. A reporter opened with a simple line, "Commiserations on your loss." It's a standard, sympathetic phrase, the kind reporters use dozens of times a tournament to soften the blow of a tough defeat. But Sabalenka, still raw from what had just happened on court, shot back instantly. "Did you say congratulations?" For a beat, the room froze. Was she joking? Was she genuinely confused? Was there an edge of bitterness underneath the question? The reporter quickly clarified, "No, commiserations, not congratulations," and the exchange was smoothed over. But that brief, tense moment set the tone for everything that followed. This wasn't going to be a polished, diplomatic press conference. This was going to be raw. And it only escalated from there. When asked directly about her level of play, Sabalenka didn't hide behind coach speak or diplomatic deflection. "I feel like honestly it wasn't there today," she admitted. "I tried my best. I was trying to adjust as best as possible. I honestly feel like I left everything today. I don't know, for some reason I didn't have level at all." She went further, describing herself as overpowered, admitting she had gotten over-emotional at points during the match, even as she insisted she was trying to stay in control. Here's a woman who has stood on the biggest stages in tennis, who has hoisted 4 Grand Slam trophies, essentially admitting in real time that she had nothing left to give. That kind of vulnerability is rare in professional sports, where the instinct is almost always to protect a brand, to spin the loss into a lesson, to project unshakable confidence even in defeat. Sabalenka did none of that. Then came the question that would ultimately define the entire controversy, whether she still considered herself the true world number one given the result. Her answer was blunt. This question, guys," she said, almost exasperated before she'd even finished forming the thought. "I mean, let's just look at the rankings. So by now, I'm world number one. Level-wise, today I wasn't world number one. Yesterday, I was world number one. I don't even want to think about ranking at this point." It was an admission wrapped in exhaustion, the kind of quote that spreads across social media within minutes, not because it was scandalous, but because it was so nakedly honest. But the moment that truly sent the internet into a frenzy was still to come. Every viral sports moment has that one line, the sentence that gets ripped from context, screenshotted, quote-tweeted, and turned into 1,000 different reactions before the day is over. For Sabalenka, that line came when a reporter asked what her plans were now that the tournament was over for her. Her response was unfiltered. "I just want to go get completely drunk, forget about tennis, and try to get in better shape." Within minutes, that quote was everywhere. Sports blogs picked it up, fan accounts clipped the video and pushed it across every platform imaginable. Some fans found it refreshingly human, a rare glimpse of a world-class athlete admitting she was, in that moment, simply exhausted and disappointed like anyone else would be. Others saw it differently, questioning whether the world number one should be talking about drinking her sorrows away in a public press conference, worried about what message it sent, especially to younger fans who look up to her. And Sabalenka wasn't done. Later in the same session, when asked how it felt to be overpowered, a word she herself had used to describe Osaka's performance, she doubled down on the raw honesty, at one point blunt in saying, "I fucked it up this year," a stark, unpolished admission that spread across social media just as fast as the drunk comment had. Think about the internet reaction for a moment. On one side, you had fans defending her, pointing out that Sabalenka has always been one of the most candid, unfiltered voices in the sport. Remember, this is the same player who back in March admitted she was shocked at how a tournament handled its scheduling in favor of a marquee men's match, and who just 1 month earlier, after a painful French Open exit, had told reporters, "I just want to quit tennis right now, but we'll see." Brutal honesty isn't new for Sabalenka. It's practically her signature. On the other side, critics argued that a world number one, a face of the sport, carries a responsibility to control the message, especially in moments of defeat. The debate raged across comment sections and forums. Is this refreshing authenticity, or is this a world number one losing control of her image in real time? What made it even more fascinating was the contrast with her opponent. Osaka, having just delivered the win of her season, remained composed and gracious throughout her own press availability, careful with her words, respectful of her fallen opponent. Sabalenka, meanwhile, seemed to almost embrace the chaos, ending one exchange by admitting, when asked about her emotions, "No emotions. Just know that I can handle myself much better than last year. Obviously, guys, if you were expecting something really fun, not going to happen." That single press conference had done more to dominate headlines than the actual tennis match. And as clips circulated across every platform, one thing became clear. The internet wasn't just talking about a loss anymore. It was talking about Aryna Sabalenka, the person, unfiltered and unguarded in ways fans rarely get to see.
So which was it? A meltdown or simply honesty in its rawest form? The truth, as it often is in moments like this, sits somewhere in the middle. Sabalenka has built a reputation over the years as one of the most emotionally transparent players in the sport. Unlike many athletes who are media trained into careful, safe non-answers, she has consistently chosen to speak her mind, even when it isn't flattering. That pattern didn't start at Wimbledon. It's been building for months. The frustration at Miami, the exhaustion after Roland Garros, and now this. Taken together, these moments paint the picture of an athlete who is tired, human, and unwilling to pretend otherwise for the sake of public image. There's also an important layer to this story that often gets lost in the viral clips: the sheer weight of what Sabalenka has been carrying all season. This was her third Grand Slam disappointment in a row: the Australian Open final, the Roland Garros semifinal, now an early exit at Wimbledon, the one major title that has always eluded her, at the hands of an opponent she'd beaten 3 times already that year. That's not just a bad day at the office. That's a mounting pressure that would test anyone's composure, let alone someone whose entire public identity is built around dominance and power. And what about Osaka's side of this story? It would have been easy for her to add fuel to the fire, to bask publicly in taking down the world number one. Instead, she remained measured, giving credit to her own preparation and mental game rather than piling onto her opponent's struggles. In many ways, her calm response only made Sabalenka's raw emotions stand out even more by contrast. 2 elite competitors, 2 completely different ways of processing a defining moment. Perhaps the most telling exchange of the entire press conference came when Sabalenka was asked directly how strange it felt to be overpowered, a sensation she rarely experiences given her own reputation as one of the biggest hitters in the sport. Her answer revealed something deeper than frustration. It revealed reflection. "Yeah, it's actually strange," she admitted, before acknowledging that if she'd played even slightly better, the outcome might have been different, because Osaka was simply feeling her best. That's not the language of someone spiraling out of control. That's the language of someone processing a hard truth in real time, in front of cameras, without the luxury of retreating to privacy first. Was it messy? Absolutely. Was it at moments uncomfortable to watch? Without question. But was it dishonest, manipulative, or scandalous in the way shocking headlines often imply? The evidence suggests something far more human, a champion confronting the limits of her own game, out loud, unfiltered, for the world to see. So where does Aryna Sabalenka go from here? This wasn't just a loss. It was her earliest Grand Slam exit since 2022, a stunning stumble for a player who had reached at least the semifinals in 14 consecutive major appearances before this. That streak, remarkable by any standard, is now broken. And the way it ended, with a booed ball toss, an awkward press room exchange, and a viral quote about wanting to get drunk, will likely follow her into every future tournament discussion for months to come. But history has shown us time and again that moments like these rarely define a champion, they reveal one. Sabalenka has been knocked down before and has climbed back to the top of the rankings each time. The real question isn't whether this loss will hurt. It clearly already has. The real question is what she does with the frustration, the exhaustion, and yes, even the viral embarrassment that came with it. For Naomi Osaka, this win represents something bigger than just another match. It's her first victory over a world number one since 2019, a signal that her own comeback story is far from finished. For fans of the sport, it's a reminder of just how thin the margins are at the top of women's tennis, that even a 4-time Grand Slam champion can be humbled on any given day, on any given surface, by an opponent who simply refuses to back down. And for the internet, this moment became something bigger than tennis. It became a conversation about authenticity in sports, about how much emotion we expect our athletes to hide, and about whether raw honesty in defeat deserves criticism or respect. Aryna Sabalenka gave us neither a scripted apology nor a manufactured smile. She gave us the truth, messy and unfiltered, exactly as she felt it in that moment. Maybe that's exactly why it went viral in the first place. So we'll leave you with this. Was Aryna Sabalenka's press conference a shocking lapse in judgment from the world's top player, or was it simply the most honest, human reaction we've seen from a champion in years? Drop your take in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown of one of Wimbledon's most talked about moments, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the drama shaping women's tennis.